What's going on, guys? And welcome into another installment, episode 209. Can't remember. I think it's 209. Let's go with that.
Yep.
Huskers Live. So we are here again, back for another week with Cornhusker Huddle. Brian, how you doing today, man?
I am doing well. I'm trying to stay warm because it is like 10 degrees in Kansas City today.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like 52 in Arizona, so I'm trying to stay warm. Trying to stay warm. I actually walked outside last night. The wind chill was like, I think it was like 38, and I was freezing. And then, but everybody back home, because it's in I'm from Southeast Texas, and it's like snowing over there. Yeah. So it's crazy. Everybody's losing their minds in the South right now. So, but
it's just another Tuesday for me.
This is about the only time Arizona weather is like good. Besides, like we only got like a 3-month period where we have good weather because we have like the hot like summer length of like any other state or any other city. It's crazy. It goes on for like 7 months of just nonstop over 100 degrees. So, yeah, I'm kind of it's one of those things where I've kind of been in hot weather climates everywhere I went, but I prefer the cold, but not that level of cold. Like, because I can bundle up, but I sweat a lot. That's the problem with me. That's why I don't like heat. I sweat a lot.
I was just telling my wife, I was like, I woke up this morning and like my shirt was just covered in sweat. I have no idea why.
Well, at least you get some warmth. At least your body's giving you some kind of warmth. All right. And my dog is joining us back there sleeping as well. So hopefully he stays quiet. But we're going to dive into a few things today. First off, we're going to dive into just quick breaking down or just talking about the national championship game last night as we saw Ohio State beat Notre Dame and what became a pretty good game there towards the end, and completed my bracket 100%. Did not get a single game wrong. So thank you, ASU, for messing that game up against Texas, or else that was the only one that I almost got wrong. But yeah, pretty impressive performance on them. Then we're going to go over some, the 2025 outlook. We're going to look at the top 3 returning players on offense and defense. If we have time, take a peek at what we expect from the defense next year, again, just with the overall staff. And then also go through kind of a breakdown of next year's schedule now that the season's over, and get Brian's thoughts on that as well. Since I've broke it down one time on here, just kind of firing from the hip, but I'm curious to see what Brian says about that as well. Join the conversation in the comments, and we will get to your comments as we roll through here. See a few people hopping in. Caleb, what's going on, man? I appreciate you hopping in. Pit Snipe, what's going on, man? Nice to see you here. Justin, go Big Red, brother. Florida got 5 or 6 inches of snow. That's crazy. That's actually insane. In Florida, that's wild. Did you see the vid? A link to your comments with Dan Key, maybe housing it for Kentucky. Talking about mine. I probably did not. This week has been super. These last couple weeks have been super busy for me. Again, starting back up personal training. So I'm training at the gym, like actual training for kind of how they want me to run things and operate things over these last couple weeks. They're kind of throwing it at me real quick to shorten the training. So this next week, I should be back fully over the weekends. I'll be working weekends now. So now that we got a break from college football, getting some extra money in there, getting out and getting personal training going. And, preparing for a fight that I'll have be coming later this year. My first pro bout coming up too. So going to be busy, but I'll be back fully with the schedule kind of lined back out in the coming weeks. So wind chill was minus 25 overnight in Omaha. Actual air temp minus 10. Talk about that that's not something I can handle. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, people up there are built different. Y'all are built different up there to deal with that. I can do 115, 120, but you catch me in anything below like 30, and I get soft real quick. What's going on, Mike? Appreciate you hopping in here. All right, Brian, let's go ahead and dive into it. So we were talking a little bit about the national championship game before we hopped on here. So, and you watched from your phone, didn't have an opportunity to really see it all well. But what were your thoughts, on the game and its entirety, and just kind of as a, I don't know, man, just a weird game.
Yeah, I I liked Notre Dame's first offensive series. They came out running the ball, very physical, and then they seemed to go away from running Riley Leonard as often. They ran him 9 times on that opening series. Obviously, they got the touchdown. They had, I think, 2 or 3 huge third downs and 2 fourth down conversions. It seemed like they were trying to lane that first punch, and then they kind of reined it back quite a bit. So I don't know what happened with Notre Dame, but I picked Ohio State by at least 14. I thought they were way more physical, way more talented. And at the end, that's really what just happened was they got out physical by Ohio State, and the talent on the outside for Ohio State was dominant.
Yeah, and kind of like you were talking about, it's just that I think they they really gassed out Riley Leonard on that first drive, and I don't know if they felt like from there they had to kind of pull it back in, but as soon as Ohio State answered back with a score, like they really needed to still kind of press that down the field because at that point, you can't get behind to Ohio State, in my opinion. You got to kind of keep that, intensity and kind of get that score back that you need. And then basically I said once it was 21-7, I thought the game was over.
Oh yeah.
And essentially was, but Ohio State got extremely conservative there in the latter half of that game. 31-7, they're probably feeling pretty comfortable, but that thing turned on its head real quick.
Oh, yeah. And the one thing I want to just make a huge shout out is that third down call at the end of the game to basically seal it, the go route to Jeremiah. Was probably one of the ballsiest calls I've ever seen. Notre Dame basically said, we're daring you to go deep on us. We're going to go man on man against, in my opinion, the best receiver in football already.
Mm-hmm.
And he won. And the dumb decision on Notre Dame's part defensively, but for Chip Kelly to call that up, that is a hell of a play.
I just felt like they weren't going to Jeremiah Smith enough at those last few drives.
Oh yeah.
So it was nice for them to finally get that connection going there to close the game out. But yeah, just a gutsy throw, a gutsy call there, because throwing on 3rd and 11, if that comes incomplete, things are changing. Things are changing, and they're believing again. It's like they lost hope early in that game, 31-7. They came and that questionable kick in the field goal. Kind of made a joke on Twitter. Yeah, it's like you're trying to bring the game from a 2-score game to 2 smaller scores. It just doesn't make sense. And if they would have let them get another shot at that again, Ohio State's defense was doing all they could there towards the end of that game. So just overall really good game, and it kind of ended how we expected. Like I said, Ohio State was what, a -8.5 point favorite. I think they ended up winning by 8. So
yeah, it was 8 exactly.
All right, Peter bettors on that one. If you had the -8.5, that was a rough ending for you. Pit Snipe. All right, I'll go check that out. Appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for dropping that. And Notre Dame just didn't have the horsepower. Howard was throwing darts. OSU didn't give him an inch. Yeah, Howard was locked in. He was locked in. What did he come out like 12 for 12, something like that?
He saved his best for last.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But he was just, marching them down the field, poised, calm, cool, collected. Not too bad for a supposed backup at K-State, or would have been a backup, as their fans were saying when he transferred. So, all right, let's go ahead and move forward, and let's dive into. Let me see here. Okay, let's dive into the Mike Ekeler situation, the special teams coordinator situation.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you talked about this earlier a little bit. We were expecting more stuff to be leaked out at the very least by now. Kind of surprising, not only that it's taken so long, but just that more information hasn't been, released. And it's kind of like, I think they're doing a lot better job of keeping most things in-house. But what are your thoughts overall on the Mike Ekeler situation and kind of the smoke there about that almost kind of being a thing that's coming soon?
There is definitely, and I posted this on X like a week or 2 ago, there's definitely substantiated rumors, I guess you could say, that Nebraska has been in contact with Mike Ekeler. The key thing here is, does he want to come back home? And I don't know. He's from, I think, Blair, Nebraska. He coached here under Bo Pelini. He understands what Nebraska is. I'm not of the notion that you have to have a Nebraska guy fill roles on the staff.
Yeah.
But for him, does he want to come home? He's got a great situation in Tennessee.
Does.
I think he's also their outside linebackers coach and special teams coordinator. So does he want to take equal or maybe a little bit more pay to only have one title? I don't know. You're staying in the SEC versus coming back home in the Big Ten. You got a team in Tennessee who's going to be probably, I would say, a perennial playoff team for the foreseeable future. You have everything you need in Tennessee. You just don't have your family as close. We know there's been contact. I'm not sure at the lengths of what those contact has been. If they're not discussing contract or what, I don't know. But it was reported officially today that there are some words being exchanged between Matt Rule and Ekeler.
Yep. And so at the very least, they're having the conversation. That means there's a level of interest there, but especially at this point, there has to be some pretty good reason for him to still be in conversation with them, especially if we're expecting this to be winding downhill here pretty soon and coming up. But I just wanted to give a couple of just kind of run through real quick Ekeler's numbers, as a special teams coordinator. So in 2021, Tennessee 67.3 in terms of their special teams grade. In 2022, that came up to a 74.4. 2023, they bumped that up to an 84.2, and this last season, 77.9. Which
that's their PFF?
Yeah, that's PFF grade, which Nebraska would be very Nebraska's was not that. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
I did a review of the special teams after Ed Foley got fired, and out of 134 FBS teams, Nebraska's overall rank was 132nd. Overall special teams. They had, I'd have to go back and check the video because I had all the stats in front of me when I did it, but I want to say there's like maybe 6 to 8 categories where Nebraska was 100 or worse in the entire country, which is just abysmal. They were last in punks block. They were, I think, 130th in pump blocks allowed. It was unreal.
Yeah, and last year's special team grade, for what it's worth, for Nebraska was 69.1, which was higher than I expected it to be, but still,
that's shocking.
Abysmally low. That's not a good grade at all. And yeah, it was the offense of 2023. The offense of 2023 was one of those things where it's just like we were nearly dead last in the country in every statistical category passing the ball. And special teams took that this year, and I can't begin to make people understand just how many games that would have turned around for us, turned losses into wins. And I'm sure a lot of us understand that, but a lot of people on the outside don't. They think this team is just the same old same, more far away than they were. And this is one of those things that can be fixed quickly with the right hire. And I think that's the key, though, with the right hire. It can't be a feel-good thing. It has to be somebody who's tried and true as a special teams coordinator, which is why Mike Ekeler, seems to be in widely regarded as the big home run hire for this. So do you have any other people that you are kind of interested in?
I don't have a name. I just know it was reported today that Nebraska has been in contact with a guy that's in the NFL. I don't know if they were waiting for playoffs to end or what the situation is there, but it was reported today by Sean Callahan that Nebraska is in talks with somebody from the NFL as well. There's probably 5 or 6 other names, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a bunch of names floating around there, but which is another thing like what we talked about, where it's just like, I'm surprised that list hasn't narrowed by now.
Yeah. There's no leaks, which is shocking.
Yep. But I mean, I think it's one of those things where, Matt Rule is really trying to do a better job from lessons learned from over the last, few months and last season and into this offseason, even, of information getting out from the inside when it shouldn't be. And I think he's probably keeping a lot more of a thumb and control on what information is getting out and what isn't. So, which is impressive because that's really hard to do. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Because people talk, and some people just want to go run with the information. So it means he's keeping the knowledge very close to the vest of his people that he trusts. So hopefully more will be coming out soon. But when they want it to come out, it will.
It's worth noting Mike Ekeler's contract expires in 10 days.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, Tennessee has that time frame to kind of see if renew it, and that's going to be the big thing to watch is if that gets renewed or not. If it doesn't, then we're probably looking pretty good in that situation. So we'll see what comes between now and then. But yeah, I saw that 10 days too. And yeah, he is the linebackers coach as well, but I would imagine if he came on here, he'd probably get paid the same to just be the special teams coordinator, because you got to think we got to get somebody just on that focused, just on the special teams of this. So,
oh yeah.
Anything else on that before we kind of move forward?
No, I think this is the only place that cares about special teams talk is Nebraska.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a bane of our existence more so than most teams, and just because I just think it's so much of an emphasis on us with the 1-score losses, like those things hurt us that much deeper because we're tired of it. And you know how many of these could have been flipped to wins with just execution on special teams, not even just an increase of talent, just overall execution of the process and
doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let me get in somebody else's comments here. Let's see. 5 points. Nebraska lost by 5 points. Yeah, to Ohio State with Marcus Satterfield.
Keep in mind, Nebraska had 3 possessions inside the Ohio State, and maybe it was 2 inside the Ohio State 5-yard line, and they went for it on 4th down each time and didn't convert.
And that was horrible play calling.
You either kick those field goals or you convert one of those into a touchdown. You're walking out of Columbus with a W.
I didn't mind going for it in a couple of those instances on the goal line, especially, but I had an issue with the play calling. Like, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. So, but what were we doing? I have no idea. Like, we're throwing from the 1-yard line, and then we're just trying to stretch it out wide to Barney, and like,
isn't that the game where they had Dowdell jump from like the 4-yard line, which is stupid.
And so, like, as soon as he hit the top of the pile and got met there, he has no potential. If forward progress is stopped, there's no potential for him to have leverage going forward. So he basically, that's why I hated him jumping at the goal line, because that was 4th down too, I think. As soon as he jumps there, I think the 3rd down play was a stretch out wide to Ja'Cory Barney, I think it was. And then, he jumped there, and then but he got met over the line of scrimmage because, I mean, the scouting report on Dowdell is he's probably going to jump. You know, it happened in every game.
It works when your linemen collapse down to kind of force the defensive line to collapse on top. But that
he kind of landed on their back.
They did like a straight, normal run block. And I'm like, what are you doing? These guys are like 6'5". You have to hurdle over them, basically.
Yeah, he kind of landed on their shoulders almost. And it was, unless they carried him in, that was about the only shot he got once he left the ground. So, hopefully Satterfield, we at least solved that issue of the play calling in the red zone. Speaking of play calling in the red zone, I'm a Texans fan, so it hurts that we also can't call plays in the red zone. And Patrick Mahomes is soft.
I did not text you on Saturday for a reason.
I appreciate that, actually, though. But like, to be honest, like I knew our shot was very low. We had a practice squad receiver as a wide receiver 3, Xavier Hutchinson as a wide receiver 2. It was going to be rough.
You lose Diggs and you lose Tank Dell. I mean, gosh,
it's tough. And our offensive line is dog shit. Literally, it's horrible. Nobody took as many hits this year as CJ Stroud. So, would you prefer to take Howard or Shedeur in the draft? Give me Howard.
Yes. I think Shedeur is going to be a gigantic bust.
I just have
a maniac,
and I have a problem with his pocket awareness. Like, I don't think he does a good of enough job at recognizing when the pocket's collapsing, and that's what forces him, to run straight backwards in a lot of instances. And he tries to keep the play going too long, and his time to throw is over 3 seconds.
It's increased every year he's been in college. His throw time.
I think it was 2.89 last year, and I think it's up to 3 or a little bit over 3 this year. Same thing with Jalen Milroe. His is up over 3 as well. And, man, I'm telling you, that's not going to work in the NFL. They're going to scheme towards you. They're going to keep you in that pocket. So you got to really learn to know when to step up in the pocket, know when to get around in the pocket early and make that decision early. It's almost like when his eyes are downfield, he's not aware of the pocket around him.
Yeah.
So
I think Shedeur has probably some of the best arm talent.
Oh, without a doubt.
But I think he's just so involved. Like, his ego is so high. I mean, he's just like his father. I mean, and I think that's going to be like, when you get to the NFL, no one gives a crap about who you are. They don't care that your dad's Deion Sanders. They don't care that you want a Heisman.
Nope. It's
going to cause a problem. Remember, after Nebraska beat him, he threw down his offensive line. Well, how many times did Dylan Raiola get touched?
Yep.
That will never happen in the NFL without punishment.
No, and that's the thing that scouts and teams look at. Those comments stick with him. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you said, he has the best arm talent, some of the best arm talent in college football, if not the best, and his ability to ad lib, throw on the run. But it's just he gets himself into so many sticky situations and just flings the ball up in a lot of situations, and
he gets bailed out because he has a Travis Hunter and Shepard, who are really good receivers. And
got some speedsters
guy?
There.
Yeah.
You got some speedsters. It's hard to really stick with those guys when the play is taken 5, 6, 7 seconds. It was like people trying to keep up with Tyreek Hill when Mahomes used to throw it up Tyreek. Like, you got to stick with him for 4, 5, 6 seconds. Good luck.
Yeah.
Because if you're not holding him, you're probably not going to have a good day at that. So Howard's a worker. Shedeur is a pain in the ass. Neither is generational. Yeah, but I think Howard proved himself in big moments, and he just has this poise to him, right? He understands the game. He understands not having to do too much. Take what the defense gives you. And
I was just getting ready to say he doesn't take a lot of risk.
Doesn't, no.
No one in the NFL does a lot of that.
No, and if he gets a good offensive coordinator that kind of plays to that strength, and he'll be in good shape. One thing about Riley Leonard, he's just a dog. Like, he doesn't have near the talent, I believe, that Will Howard has and stuff like that, but he's just a dog through and through. Certain Major League Asian groundskeepers. Shun football or play soccer in school. The hell are they kickers? Yeah, I played soccer in school. I almost became a kicker for the football team, but I was a cornerback because I didn't have hands. That's why I wasn't a wide receiver. Just the thought of those two watching Husker football. Oh, we're talking about the Asian field crew. I've asked elsewhere, but if I had told you about, okay, let me see. I'm trying to stick to the ones on subject. Almost as if Howard is the Brock Purdy type. I think that's a pretty fair comparison.
He's a little more mobile,
little bigger, little bit. Yeah, he's definitely bigger. Definitely bigger.
Bigger arm too.
In terms of, I think, Purdy got himself into trouble. Some of the throws he made, was made more recent. But like Purdy coming into it, and when he was really kind of flowing the best, he was more so doing that, taking what the defense was given, not putting the ball in harm's way. But over time, defense have kind of figured him out a little bit. But yeah, Howard just a little bit. Howard's sneaky, has that sneaky mobility. Like he's not one of those guys who's going to be on a ton of design runs, but he's going to be able to get you yards when you need him. And yeah, he's kind of like just that more of that prototypical NFL size, no doubt. Well, Howard could be Brady and not GOAT, but Brady-like. That's a stretch right there. The Titans take Shedeur. If the Titans take Shedeur, I'm never watching pro football again. I don't blame you. Are you a Titans fan? If you are,
I could see Jerry hiring Dion at Dallas. Dallas finds a way to trade up, and they go and get Shedeur.
Yeah,
that would be classic Daddy Ball.
It'd be Jerry Jones. That's like when we're so shocked he didn't take Johnny Manziel in that one draft. We're like,
yes,
for sure he's going to take Johnny Manziel, and he didn't. Took Micah Parsons, I think.
Well, that turned out all right.
That was either that year or the next year. But Micah Parsons is probably his best pick ever. Yeah, never mind me, he's a Titans fan. He suffered enough. Now go ahead and give Houston their Oilers jersey back. Could you? Stop being stingy with our uniforms.
Every time they play Houston in those uniforms.
0-2, man. 0-2. They got to cut that out until they got a good team for and they lost to us without our starters too this last time. All right, let's go ahead and talk about. We kind of went. We're going to talk about the offensive and defensive in terms of the top three. Our top three returning players. I'm expecting us to maybe have a lot of the same names, but I'm just curious. Like, this is an exercise I like to do. We didn't talk about this beforehand, so just trying to get each other's take on this. So let's go here. Are they in order?
No,
Okay, mine either.
I just got them listed. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and hear yours.
Okay, mine are. I try to think outside the box a little bit here, so they might not be the same.
And drop yours in the comments as well. Your top 3 or 4 returning offensive, defensive players. I'll be curious to hear those from y'all too. So,
I did a combo for number 1. Well, not number 1, but one of them. I did Gunnar Gatula, Henry Latowski, and Justin Evans Jenkins, so that we have a cohesive offensive line. You have 3 guys that have played together. And also because we now didn't land Pete.
Yeah.
So Gatula becomes ever more important now. So that's why I did a combo, because you need experience and guys that have been in the same system together a long time on that offensive line. And then I did Emmett Johnson for obvious reasons, because I don't think we really have a running back currently on the roster that's not coming up through the high school ranks, like Emmett Johnson, that can be an every down back potentially. And then I did Ja'Cory Barney. I tried not to do Dylan Raiola because that's the obvious.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I put Raiola on mine, but I was tempted to go offensive line. I just wasn't sure. I couldn't pick one. I was thinking Gatula. I really like, I know Justin Evans had his moments, bad moments at times, but that was also too when the offensive line had a lot of youngsters trying to get, everybody on the same page. But I mean, Justin Evans showed a lot of flashes the year prior, his freshman year, and he showed some flashes this year. So I've always kind of been a Justin Evans like guy. So if not Raiola, I'll probably go Justin Evans, but Gatula is a pretty clear front runner probably there. Yeah. And then Emmett Johnson, Ja'Cory Barney. I just could not go. Emmett Johnson's my favorite player on the team. Ja'Cory Barney is just, you put him like in that Wisconsin game, he got 9 receptions. If you put the ball in his hands, your odds of winning go up tremendously. Jalen Lloyd was the guy who was supposed to be
take the top
off the defense, and Ja'Cory Barney just came in and just outplayed him and took the role from him of that speedster, get open in space. And it's so exciting to see what Ja'Cory Barney can be, especially now that he'd be a little bit more unlocked with some of these guys we got coming to the portal. You're not going to be able to double Ja'Cory Barney. You're going to be doubling like Dane Key, guys like that, Carter Nelson, those type of guys. Carter Nelson's another one that I had here as like an honorable mention.
I just don't know how he's going to come back from that hip surgery. That could take a while.
It could. But I don't know. I just feel like he's got youth on his side in terms of like the recovery of that. And they got, the best facilities for recovery there is. I'm hopeful that he will be back and be, they're not going to take any chances. They're going to wait till he's 100% healthy to throw him back out there. But yeah, that is a little bit of concern.
The one thing about Ja'Cory too is he's not going to be all over the field like he was under. I just drew a blank on our old OC's name, Satterfield.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be in a spot with Holgerson as offensive coordinator. It's going to free him up for a lot more stuff underneath too.
100%. Yeah, and just get the ball in his hands. Let him operate. Pit Snipe said the commission wiped Houston's right to the Oilers. Not good. No, it was Bud Adams. Believe it or not. Trust me, I have the last name Adams. So this is something, and I'm from the Houston area. My family was Oilers fans, and he's I think he's making fun of the way I say "ol" because listen, I'm from South Texas. All right, I don't put the I in there. So no, Bud Adams sold the Oilers to Tennessee or moved them, relocated them there, and then he decided that he told, because I think his daughter is the current she runs the show with them. I think he died, and he made the family promise him that they would never give up those uniforms and or let us wear the powder blue. So when we made those H-Town uniforms, we were trying to get powder blue as one of our primary colors, but they only agreed to let us use it on a certain percentage of our uniform. So we couldn't use it as a primary color. We had to use it on the alternates because the Adams family, not mine, the mean one, could only, they would only let us use a certain amount. It's just kind of really petty. It's this really petty thing, and it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is at this point. I like how the uniforms turned out. Wish we wear the all reds more, but yeah. So it wasn't the commish that did that. It's just really Bud Adams being, we hated Houston. So, all right. Top 3 on offense for Caleb: Dylan, Emmett, Gatula. Another Gatula there. Good list. I mean, Dylan and Emmett got to be the Got to be the two obvious. I think the most obvious answer is probably Dylan Emmett and Barney, but the offensive line, just the extra emphasis on how important the offensive line has got to add some kind of boost to that. And just the receiver core this year is going to be, stout with all the guys we got.
They're going to be so loaded.
Oh, yeah. Titans wearing all throwbacks, and Houston was peak shade for no reason. They got beat for it, too. Both times they did it, they got beat. Top 3 defense: Shavers, Van Poppel, and Wright. Which Wright? We'll go into that. I'm going to go ahead and give you my top defensive returning players, and then we'll go into yours. So my honorable mention, I threw an honorable mention, a couple, just 2 names as honorable mention, if I could talk. Van Poppel and Keona Davis. Those 2 obvious, studs, young studs, up and coming too. But my 3 for next season: Sierra Wright, Vincent Shavers, and Javen Wright. So those are my 3 for next season. Just Javen Wright showed what he could be as kind of a do-it-all type of linebacker when he first transitioned to 2023. Got a couple of interceptions there. Of course, was hindered a little bit last year due to injuries and stuff like that. And then of course, Vincent Shavers. We all know what Vincent Shavers is. He came in the season playing really fast, kind of like Matt Rule was saying. He plays fast almost to like it's where he's going to make mistakes at time, but he's also going to accidentally make plays. And over the course of the season, he started to really slow that down mentally. He still played fast as ever, but you started to see him being better positioned. He wouldn't overrun the play. He wouldn't get too excited out there. And that development over the course of a season, just by getting out there and playing football, is, that shows a cerebral player. That's a player that knows that can develop quickly. And that's a player that, did that with just kind of like learning from his mistakes on the fly. And those are the players that go from good to great. Those players that can develop as they make mistakes, realize what they're doing wrong, and just kind of grow from them. And then, of course, Sierra Wright, coming from USC, did the acting. He went to USC to be closer to Hollywood so he could pursue the acting more. Really just didn't see eye to eye or have a great relationship there with the staff towards the end of it. Opted out for the last few games of the season. Didn't play football for, a little while there, a big stretch, because he didn't play the last, I think he played 7 games in that season prior. Came in late to Nebraska in terms of the process, really, really late, and was able to get out there and make plays in that scrimmage in the offseason. And then the scrimmage they had for the fans, not the spring game, but the other one. And then, was really, really good throughout the season, and incredible ball skills. That's the main thing that jumps out to you, is his ball skills are fantastic. So, let's go ahead and hear your players.
I also had Sierra Wright. I think he's going to be a stud. He's going to be a shutdown corner on one side. I did include Riley Van Poppel and Elijah Judy, and I did that because of how much depth we lost inside.
Didn't even think about Judy. Yeah.
If we lost either one of those guys, and Judy hasn't been great by any means, he's been okay. He's been a solid rotational guy. But if we lost either one of those on top of what we already lost, I can't imagine where we would be going into spring and winter conditioning, all that stuff with the interior defensive line. And then my last one was hard. I was between Vincent Shavers, like you were, and then I decided to go with Javen Wright. Strictly because of how versatile he is. He wasn't a guy you were planning to get back. I think they brought Deshaun McCullough in to kind of take over for Javen. And so getting him back, I think, was huge, because he can be all over the field. I like his ability to cover. He's a plus size linebacker. He can really do it all.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. And that, I think that's the biggest thing, is just his versatility makes him so valuable. It was really good to get him in there. I wanted to say Bly Hill just because I liked Bly Hill ever since he came in as a transfer. I really like what he brings in terms of his physical attributes. 6'3", long, rangy. That's the type of cornerback that Nebraska doesn't have really on the roster right now, is that long, rangy kind of guy who can get up and go, get a ball at its high point. Kind of like you see that with what Cam Taylor Britt.
Yeah.
that when he got up and got that ball, like having a range and a 6'3" and being like long extremities, like that has the ability to, if he sticks that arm up in the air, good luck getting it over the top of him.
That's why I don't worry about like on those bigger corners. They may not have that like elite top end speed. When you have those long arms, I mean, that makes up for it alone. So if you're not the fastest guy in the world, it's not a huge difference at all.
Correct. Yep. 100%. And speaking of the defense, let's just talk through that a little bit. And, what do you think this defense is going to look like next year in terms of stylistically? Because we saw against Boston College, it was just a lot of, let's put guys in the box. We're going to make you try to beat us through the air. And of course, the weather had a lot to do with that in Boston College's play style had a lot to do with that. It was much harder to throw. But that downhill aggressive style was something that I said was going to be a hallmark. Just you could tell by the hires that they were making that it seemed like they wanted this to be a little bit, a more aggressive kind of style of defense, but at the same time, more versatile in the fronts we did. Because again, I talked about this. Tony White seemed a little bit reactive more than proactive with his defensive front.
Yes.
So we would get gashed by Indiana with 3 down linemen, and then we came back the next week, put 4 hands in the dirt. But it was like we would get gashed, and then we would make the adjustment as opposed to kind of preempting the adjustment. So, what is your take on this defense and what you think it's going to look like next year?
When Rule said that he wants to keep the same like schematics, I understand that, but I think they're probably going to have more 4 down linemen would be my guess. And I think they're going to do a lot more of an NFL style. They're going to have safeties back deep, they're going to basically make you throw everything short, stuff the run. He's brought in so many guys from the NFL that just tells me that's where they're going. It's like watching the Chiefs or watching Houston or whoever, right? Like, I think that's where they're going to go. They're going to have a lot more pressure. I think they're going to blitz substantially more than they did with Tony White, especially on third downs. My biggest complaint with Tony was if you get into a third and medium or a third and long, it seemed like he dropped in coverage all the time.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 guys rushing and you're expecting to get home with 3 guys. If you're a QB and you have 5-6 seconds, not that long, but you have a long time to sit in the pocket, you're going to have ample amount of time to read the field, scramble around, find an open spot in the zone. So I think, and especially watching back that Pinstripe Bowl, all the blitzes that they brought were so different each time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different schematics that they did within the 3-3-5.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And that's the thing. It was the creativity of the blitzing. You could tell, the NFL mind, you have to disguise those a lot better, and you can't just keep bringing the same blitzes. You can't make them obvious because they're going to throw right to the spot you're blitzing from every single time. And so the delay on the blitzes and wasn't too much of a delay to where, by that time, the play is already, you just don't give yourself an opportunity to get the hit on the quarterback. You just basically have a man in the backfield for no reason. And then kind of the situation with the free dog, there were Vincent Shavers, I believe it was Vincent Shavers, stepped up and just put it on the quarterback because he didn't have to go out with this man there on the flat. So he was just a free dog. And what is a free dog going to do? He's going to blitz. So he didn't have a man. So he just shot that gap. I don't think that was a delayed blitz. I think he was a free dog there. And he just shot that gap. And that was the one where he stuck the quarterback right on the chest. So
they did the same thing with Bullock too, except I don't think he was in coverage. I think he was just a delayed blitz, but he just stepped in right where the quarterback was getting ready to step up into the pocket. And that's when he lit him up. He fumbled it and we got it.
Playing smart. The vision. The vision was really key for those plays because they were waiting for the right opportunity. I think Shavers triggered right as soon as he knew those contains were coming around and he was going to have to step up in the pocket. And so the timing and all of that was just perfect. And I think we're going to see a lot more of, that aggression going forward as well. So can't say I've been impressed with Blythe a little. Well, we haven't seen much from him. The Iowa game, he had Gifford as his single high safety, and Gifford was nowhere to be found. And the man just missed the entire season. He only got a few reps. And like the deep ball where he got beat on with against Iowa.
That was bad. That was bad eye discipline by Gifford. He got sucked in so far.
Gifford was even in the screen when the throw went out there. Like he was just gone. And so Bly didn't have that help over the top. So yeah, it's really hard. I don't like.
I think at the
judging.
end of that play, Bly even looked around like, where the hell
Where
is my
was
safety
he?
at?
Where was he? And like, I remember that play, like everybody was crapping on Bly Hill, but I'm like, did y'all not see Gifford single high over the top? Like, come on. Bly came in late from the injury. Exactly. You cannot judge a guy on his first few reps. An important game like that too. He came in and only got a few reps against Wisconsin, and like he was just still getting his feet under him. He hadn't played live football in how long? Like, I don't think people understand how hard it is to just go out there in the last couple weeks of the season and try to get live reps. And,
yeah, he got hurt in the spring game, if I recall, or right in the fall camp.
Yep.
So and it went 8 months almost probably without football.
100%. And it was supposed to be like, initially it was supposed to be like until like 3 or 4 weeks in the season, and we just never saw him. And yeah, we finally seen him get thrown out in the field right there. And that's a tough situation to come into for sure. I just want to see a defense that can get off the field on third down. Tired of seeing 3rd and 8. Longer converted all the time.
That's where those blitzes are going to come in.
Exactly, 100%. Just gotta keep disguising them. Got to time them, and then once you get those blitzes, like kind of the vision of the quarterback, kind of seeing what those blitzes look like coming. That's when you drop a guy back into coverage, and you kind of force those turnovers as well. So
yeah, I could see him doing a lot of like replacements where they show blitz from one area, and then that guy drops back, and then the blitz comes from like a safety or something too.
Yeah,
and then that linebacker like drops back into that coverage spot.
Yeah, that's the good thing about having these really smaller, versatile linebackers that the 3-3-5 like asks for, because you have some guys that can get out there in coverage and get out there and a cornerback, replace a cornerback and still hold their own in coverage out there. So Bly is young, extremely athletically gifted, but learning and healing, needs to get healthy. Yeah, 100%. Very, very young. Yeah, exactly, Justin. Very little to judge on. Let's see. No excuses. Obviously, never been injured and played the game of football. And I didn't even play at that level. Like, coming back at that level is crazy. Obviously, you need a mobile QB. That is something Dylan doesn't do much. Do you see being something he will be able to do? I don't necessarily think you need a mobile QB, but it adds a whole different element to your offense that makes it much harder to stop.
You need a quarterback that can be situationally athletic, I guess.
Yeah, we're not going to see design runs for Dylan, but I do think he can move. I think the thing with him is he's so pocket oriented that he rarely takes that option.
Yeah.
And so
I'd like to see him work on like escaping that pocket and then rolling out and then just taking off. Like if you can get three. Don't sit there and try and you'll see him sometimes he'll kind of like horizontally across the field looking for a guy when he can just bolt north and south and get 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah, by that time the grass in front of you is closed. But yeah, it's just kind of like we talked about with how Satterfield's offense works in terms of like, again, just trying to really target that underneath to see 2-3 yards, doesn't matter. Get those throws going and seeing them go into their hands. Well, 2-3 yards on those, get 2-3 yards on a little scramble, get out of bounds, just like he did against Boston College, go make those plays, get those moments, and act like Patrick Mahomes, and you'll get calls. Like if he's going to be like Patrick Mahomes, then, just flop around out there and slide late. And
hey, that's what he did in the bowl game. He slid late.
Yeah, but I'm talking late, like Mahomes did, and let the 2 defenders hit each other and get a penalty somehow. No, I'm just playing. I'm just giving you a hard time. But I'm not playing at the same time. I'm pissed.
I can be unbiased and say, yes, those were not penalties.
No, I appreciate that, because I don't mind if people say, well, we won the game, like all that. Like, yeah, okay, cool. But at least admit that, because the ones that try to argue that, oh, Chiefs get called for more penalties than everybody, I'm like, it's the situations in which those penalties get called sometimes that are egregious. So yeah, I do think that's something he'll be able to add to his game, but he's never going to be like, a mobile quarterback. Maybe more like a Ben Roethlisberger level. Well, no, Ben Roethlisberger can move. I think he'd be a Ben Roethlisberger in terms of like maybe, escaping the pocket, creating back there. But yeah, he's doesn't have that speed to him. That's for sure. He needs a lot of green. That's what and he needs to take it, and he needs to get out of bounds. He can't be taking those hits either. I know he's a big body guy, but we need him.
He's too valuable.
And those hits will wear you down. Reject that premise, Mike. Focus on O-line, and ER will have more time to not be mobile. Yeah, and that's the thing. He's just so used to being a mobile quarterback. It's hard to then tell him to go run. Then while he's also, dealing with the offensive line we had and thinking about like all these deep routes he's got, like it was just a lot of thinking last year. And I think that's why those windows to run closed quicker, because, by the time he's thinking, he's always a half beat late. And I just think when Satterfield was the OC, there was a lot of thinking because it was too complex. The execution was bad. The rhythm would be off. The timing's off. You got deep routes 20 yards down the field. You're not looking to run those instances. And then by then it's too late. So I think the way Satterfield's run this offense, or way Holgerson's run this offense, will really set up a lot more of those avenues for him for sure. Mike, no, we need Holgerson. What were we saying?
I was saying it seemed like when Satterfield was the OC, there was more like deep shots or like routes that were like 15-ish yards or so, and there's only that one underneath route where I feel like typically you have levels to it, right? You have a short, middle, deep, and maybe you have, if you're going like 4 wide or something, you have a guy coming on the back end, right?
Yep.
I felt like that never happened under Satterfield.
No.
It was always deep, and then you have like Jacory running a freaking drag route somewhere.
There was no setup.
Check it down. Yeah.
There was no setup.
No purpose to the calls. Whereas Holgerson, it seemed like there was designs, like they used to run those like quick out screens or whatever to Barney. And then they had that one in the USC game where they faked it to Barney, and then Banks released.
That was a great play.
Yeah, it was a fake screen wheel route. Dylan looked off Banks, but there was purpose because they were setting that up throughout the game.
But we had not seen that, like him have an option to both sides of the field like that, one deep, one check down, but to both sides of the field, where it's just kind of like, almost like that double-sided screen, except you got a guy deeper down the field. He didn't have that. And like the Purdue game, I go back to that a lot because that first half was some of the worst play calling I've seen. And like, trying to throw deep when you don't have the defenders down in the box, like what are you doing? Especially when our route running was kind of lazy at times. And, it just wasn't working, and there was no setup. We weren't coming out running the ball to try to throw deep. We were just coming out and just trying to throw it.
Yeah.
With no rhyme or reason. And so
even in the run game, there was no like changes. There was like basically a dive left, dive right, outside zone left, outside zone right. And that was like the extent of it. And then you throw in like a random reverse to Jacory every now and again.
Yep. Yeah,
there's just no rhyme or reason to anything he did.
You look at Ohio State, they run a ton of GT counters. They run a lot out of the pistol. Like, they change it up a lot. They run a lot of outside zone, but they change up their runs so much and out of different formations, whether it be ace, whether it be, 3 wide, like but like that also sets up their passing game because and then they'll motion people across, and they'll throw them once, and then they'll motion them across again. They'll set them up as a blocker. It's all of those plays are setups for what you're going to do a little bit later in the game or later in that drive. And that was not there for Nebraska. There was no consistency. When we scored, it was either we would have a kind of a lucky methodical drive, but more often than not, it's like we have a couple explosive plays that get us close, and then we can kind of punch it in from there. But
yeah,
rough for sure. Let's see. It's a way to get a fresh set of downs. Yeah, exactly. Raul has a Hank Hill body. I mean to that man.
That's by design.
Yeah, exactly. He needs that beef on him to just kind of like, well, and two, one of the things is Matt Rule talked about like having a big body quarterback like that can throw into the wind in Nebraska in November, and get that ball, snapping enough into the wind to be able to just keep it pushing down the field. Because if you got a noodle arm throwing in that wind, the ball is going to get taken by the wind. And
just remember Luke McCaffrey throwing the ball. That's why you want Dylan Raiola, a big guy.
Luke McCaffrey, him throwing the ball, that was tragic. That was tragic.
Oh my gosh.
He's
with Matt Saracen out there from Friday Night Lights.
He was built for that 10 to 15 yard throw. That was about the deepest he could go comfortably. And then we had old Taylor Martinez with the shot put
Oh gosh.
off the all shoulder. No lower body in that throw. It was all shoulder. This next season, at final of the year, we get a 1,000-yard rusher receiver. I think we'll definitely get a 1,000-yard rusher. I think we're going to spread the ball out a lot in terms of passing, but dang key.
I think Emmett's going to get a ton of touches. Like,
yeah,
he could be a guy that gets like maybe 600 or 700 yards rushing, but he could be a guy that also gets you 300 or 400 yards receiving too.
Yeah, he could be 1,500, 2,000 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, I wouldn't really get too focused on rushing yards from a running back. Not at least not with Holgerson as OC. I just look at your running back and say, how many all-purpose yards does that dude have at the end of the year? Because that's going to be Emmett's game. Is going to be out of the backfield and running the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do realistically see a scenario where he goes over 1,000 yards rushing for sure. And we do have the receivers to, as long like, just really matters how consistent the offense is. That's the key. And if you can get some leads, start putting Emmett out there and wearing the clock down, that'll get him there.
Yeah. It all comes down to that offensive line at the end of the day. If you don't have the blocking, you don't have the protection, you're not going to get either.
Negative. Nope.
Not unless you have Trey Palmer running a 4.240 streaking down the field.
Yeah, that's what helped out Casey Thompson a lot. People understand how much like him just having Trey Palmer down the field in 2 seconds really helped Casey look a lot better. Because he had, Trey had over 1,000 yards and Casey Thompson had like 2,300 passing yards on the season. So, guess that's the difference between a freshman and experienced QB decision to extend the drive. Yeah, 100%. And he'll get those when he starts. When there's less thinking, it's just more reacting. Then, that is one thing you see from Mahomes. Like, he makes quick decisions and he knows kind of when to pull it and run. And he does that. He makes that decision quick. It's sometimes it's 1-2 reads. Let's get out of here. I'm calling it Key will get 1,000 yards. I think he's got a good shot at it. I think he's got a really good shot at it. I do love Dylan.
It's going to be him.
Yeah, 100%. I do love Dylan, though. I'm just a hateful little prick. It's okay. Been there. We've all been there. Dane Kilo. Ross throwing the ball was worse. Tommy arm punt. We've had some bad throwers with football. I'm not gonna lie to you. We got a laundry. Let's not forget about old Jeff Sims out there. Who, I mean, he can throw a tight spiral, and he had somewhat of an arm, but
he's an NFL quarterback. That's what I was told.
That man couldn't hit. That man, he couldn't hit a lake from the boat. Like,
jeez,
it was horrible. Let's not talk about Jeff Sims anymore.
No.
Holgerson has an eye for the defense. Satterfield just couldn't see all the defense. I don't think he knew what to do against certain defenses. Like, even against cover 3, cover 2, he was not running cover 3 beaters and cover 2 beaters.
How the hell did he get the job at South Carolina?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. But South Carolina fans try to warn us.
He was the OC at Temple, yes.
Yeah. He's been with Rule in a lot of different places. Yeah,
and then Glenn Thomas was the OC at Baylor, co-OC with.
They were co-OCs, I believe. Yep.
And then Matt Rule brought Satterfield with him to the Panthers, and he didn't call plays.
Or
no, he didn't bring him.
I don't know if he went with him to the Panthers.
They had decent offenses under Matt Rule, but I don't know how that warrants a SEC program like South Carolina coming in and saying we're going to pay you $1.1 million and you're going to run our offense. And they looked terrible.
I don't either. Maybe it's partially due to the fact that, like, those Baylor and Temple teams did have pretty good offenses, but albeit like
it's Temple and Baylor.
The competition level and stuff like that, like coming into the SEC yet. And South Carolina fans try to warn us, but we're trying to be like, of course you're going to trash him, like, and try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But South Carolina fans appreciate the warning. You were right. All right. I'll give you that. But yeah, it didn't really make sense. But like, he's Matt Rule's like best friend, kind of been with him everywhere. So that's one of those things. He had to give him a shot, but wish he didn't. Speaking of Trey Palmer, sounds like a wide receiver or two we have now are burners like he was. I don't know not the level of Trey Palmer.
No, but
nobody's got that track like speed that transitions fully into football speed, but we do have burners. That is for sure.
Gilmore, for sure.
Yes, Harley Gilmore. Trey Palmer was just a different level of speed. So saying they're not Trey Palmer level is no knock on anybody. That doesn't mean they're not fast, but Trey Palmer was just that elite in terms of his speed, 100%. Sims just fumbled again. Or he threw in. That dude could not hold a snap to save his life. Jeff Sims never happened. I've repressed that memory. It's kind of crazy too. I almost forget about him sometimes.
I went to the season opener at Minnesota that year. I was like, oh, here we go. We got a good quarterback. Supposedly he's the real deal. And then like within 10 minutes, he'd fumbled twice and threw an interception.
Yep.
And then he had that interception at the end of the half, which was in the end zone my dad and I were sitting in. And I'm just like, this guy sucks. Minnesota was not that good. That
Minnesota game too, the one touchdown that he had was on that broken play.
Yeah.
Where like
Alex Bullock was running butt naked in the end zone.
Yeah, and the ball, like he dropped the ball. Like the ball got fumbled or something, and it bounced right back up to him, and he threw it to a wide open guy. I thought at the very least, I'm like, this dude can run. Like he's big and strong. Like he's pretty fast. Like I was like, well, we can win some games with his running. Absolutely not.
Nope.
They were like, we want to get him to 65% completion percentage coming into the season. He was at 55% Georgia Tech. That was an uphill battle, man. To get a 10% completion percentage after moving to a much tougher conference. Crazy. Did you guys see Rule's tweet earlier today? I think so. I've been in boxing training the majority of my day. Let's see.
I've been home. I just haven't been pulling up Twitter that much because I've been doing other stuff.
Let's see here.
I am pulling his tweeter up right now.
I see Alan Jackson. Oh, what an amazing 2024 college football season. Congrats to Ohio State. Oh, I did see this come up, but I didn't watch it. Looking forward to another exciting year of football in 2025 with everyone who makes this game so special, like my friend Feinbaum. I love the shade, dude. That's fantastic. And then he posted the clip. I love that, man. I love Matt Rule, bro. Like he is just that perfect duality of like seriousness.
Go ahead and retweet that for everybody.
Yeah, that perfect. I appreciate you pointing that out, Caleb. But that that perfect duality of like seriousness, but like knowing how to have a sense of humor at the same time.
Yeah.
Credit where credit. SC Navy buddies laughed in my face about Shatterfield. They were right. Yeah, it's hard to admit sometimes, but they were right. Had one. He transferred to Oklahoma State.
I beg to differ on that.
Yeah.
I'm not as high on Lloyd as everybody else is. I thought he was a track star trying to play football.
If this season proved that he was not kind of, I mean, if you watch this season and his role didn't really expand at all, like that's a bad sign, especially when you're coming into the season as one of the most, talked about people on the team.
I think he has potential. I think just Rule had to shift his philosophy where like, we don't have time to sit here and spend 3 years developing guys anymore. We need to win now. And unfortunately, guys like Coleman and Lloyd were, at their expense where they're finding new homes and we wish them well, but they're just guys that are still.
Yeah.
It paused.
Yeah. Cut out for a second, but, yeah, it was one of those things where it's like you get outplayed by a freshman. The freshman gives us more of a chance to win now, and that's not a good omen. And I feel like both, after the season, both sides needed a kind of a change of scenery because I felt like Jalen was unhappy with his role, and I feel like Nebraska wasn't, very impressed with his development, and I could just be a disconnect, man. Sometimes just some people need a different look, different coaches to really bring the best out of them.
Yeah, and I think part of it too was he had a chance in the bowl game. Isaiah Nayor was told you're not, going to be a fit in this offense anymore. So you got the starting nod on the depth chart and you played 3 snaps.
Yeah.
That was a huge tell sign. Like he's moving out. Like,
yep. That Boston College
should have been for everybody.
That Boston College game and just those last few games in general put it into perspective, just how little of a role he had. And that was with not even as talented as a receiver core as we're going to have going into next year. Like, think about what he's got to compete with next year. That's going to be crazy.
Like, if we're being honest, if we had Banks and Nayor back, they're probably not starting over Key and Hunter. No way.
Absolutely. 100% agreed. Especially Sir drops a lot in Nayor. I think Banks might have had an opportunity to be a high rotational guy, just because they're pretty sure-handed. I don't think his route running was sharp enough and just lacked effort sometimes.
Yeah.
But let's see. I think Sims would probably do fine in Division II. Yeah, NAIA. Barney is the one with Johnny Rogers potential. Lloyd might develop, or he might be gone in May. Yeah, 100%. Was Sims a Satterfield find? I believe so. I think it was Matt Rule. I think it was Matt Rule, actually. Yeah, because that was the first guy he called.
Yep. Jeff Collins, I think, was the head coach at Georgia Tech and got let go. And then I think he coached for Rule at Temple, I believe.
But if we recall, Casey Thompson was also supposed to be in a quarterback competition with him, and then Casey transferred suddenly.
Yeah.
After saying he was fine with the competition, Casey Thompson transferred. But that was Matt Rule's first call was to Jeff Sims. So his first decision was his worst, but it's been pretty uphill since. Outside of the Satterfield OC hire, it's been pretty uphill since that. So speed isn't all there is in football. I believe Nebraska coaches are good at finding football players. Agreed. And track speed doesn't always translate to football speed. There's a reason why a lot of – go ahead.
We know that's what Rule looks at too. A lot of those different analytics, 100-meter, 200-meter, long jump, triple jump, all that different stuff. But for some guys, it like Jalen Petrie at Baylor, when they found him, I mean, no one knew who Jalen Petrie was. It worked out. Or Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
And sometimes you get a guy like Jalen Lloyd that just isn't there yet. And that's okay.
Jalen Petrie's, unfortunately, he tore his pec, so he was out for the remainder of the season, but he is a stud.
So he's a freak.
He's a downhill, I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to hit you hard. So Jalen Petrie was, I don't even think he was rated as a recruit, but they developed him into what I think he was a second-round pick. Yeah, he was a second-round pick.
And he's started as a rookie in Houston, right?
Yep. And the Texans, yep. Kind of does Mike, but they started late in the cream of the crop, and the portal was already gone. Lloyd isn't Lloyd already in the portal? No, he's at
Oklahoma
State. Not from Oklahoma State. He went over there. Let's see. Thank you, Todd. +5. All right. That puts us at about our hour. So do you want to go ahead and tell us kind of what you got going on over on your side of the world at Cornhusker Huddle? And if y'all have not yet, go check out Brian's stuff over there. You can tell them where to find you on YouTube, X, and all that.
Yep. I am on YouTube. I am on X, TikTok, as long as this ban or whatever stays uplifted. Facebook, which I don't post a ton on there right now, but you can find me on X and YouTube and Spotify as well. I am doing a video. It'll be out probably Thursday afternoon or so. We're doing the top 5 incoming freshmen for the 2025 recruiting class. And we're going to do 2 or 3, maybe 4 plays of each player, things that I like or things that I see that they could improve on going into their freshman season at Nebraska. And then depending on how our basketball game turns out, I will probably likely do a recap of whatever happened in Nebraska basketball in the last 4 games.
Yeah, it's been interesting. That's for sure. Lots to talk about there.
But yeah, that's all I got on my channel for this week. We post, I post every Thursday and every Friday as well. So if you want to be on a little schedule or whatever, you can hit the alarm bell every Thursday and Friday. I will upload.
Awesome. Great stuff over there. And MD says, don't forget one of the first things Holgerson did was call out the wide receiver blocking. Is there any news on special teams coordinator? Yeah, we talked about that early on in the show. Really not a ton extra on that, but Mike Ekeler and Matt Rule are still in conversations. So they're doing a good job keeping that close to the vest. There's names floating around there, but really nobody has any extra additional information on leads. And if they are, they're just kind of guessing or reading it from somewhere, probably rumors. So we can tell you firsthand, there's not a lot coming out. So we're going to be kicking ourselves that Lloyd got away. I don't think so. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Cal fans compared Hunter to Barney. Not sure what it meant. Maybe he's fast. So Nazea Hunter is a guy who you get the ball in his hands, he's going to operate well in space. He's got quick feet, and get the ball in his hands, he's going to be a playmaker. But he's also big enough to where he can go up and get balls, 50-50 balls. So you target him in the end zone. I don't know if it's a complete direct comparison to Barney. I wouldn't say.
I don't think they're similar.
I would just say in terms of his ability to make plays after the catch. That's the only comparison that I would make there. So, appreciate that, Pit Snipe. I work late. Okay, cool. So, you can go back and check it out, man. Appreciate you hopping in here. Appreciate all you. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you hopping in here. Lloyd was a loss for sure. Plus, he had a lot of eligibility left. Would have been nice to have him, but again, this is the transfer portal era. Guys ain't going to stick around to be a backup in their third season. So, all right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button yet, I have not asked. If you don't mind dropping a like, hitting the like button for me, it really, really helps me out. And I had a great conversation today with y'all. So next Tuesday, I'll see you here at the same exact time. Might have Brian back as well. So we chop it up with him a little bit. We got a lot of recruiting stuff coming up for you in the next few weeks as that ramps up, and news on the special teams coordinator, etc. So if you haven't subscribed, most of you are, go ahead and hit that sub button, and go ahead and also hit the notification bell so you're notified of all the uploads. But anything else before we head out?
No, I think we're good. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on again. And with that being said, I will see everybody in the next video. Peace.